Welcome back to the Malaysia Money Matters show. It's February 4th, 2025, and, well, let's just say, we've got a lot to talk about today.
A lot is right. Buckle up because we're diving deep into the financial news that matters most to you.
Starting right here at home with some major moves in the Malaysian market.
Oh, yeah. There's definitely some action happening with Malaysian companies, canceled deals, new contracts, and even rumors of a huge IPO on the horizon.
Speaking of canceled deals, remember that $1.12 billion deal where AMMB and MetLife are going to sell their insurance businesses to Great Eastern?
Yeah, I remember that one.
It's off.
Really?
Yeah, officially called off.
Interesting.
And they're not saying why.
No official reason.
Yep.
That always makes you wonder.
Doesn't it? Makes you think. Especially when you consider that Great Eastern's parent company, OCBC, is facing pushback from investors who are trying to take it private.
Oh, yeah. I see what you mean. Could be connected somehow.
We'll have to see how it all plays out, but it's definitely a situation worth watching.
Definitely.
Now, let's shift gears to AZRB, the construction company. They just scored a RM 63.4 million contract to build a bridge in Kuala Lipis, Papua.
Okay. A bridge contract.
Yeah, but it's not just any bridge.
What's so special about this one?
Well, this bridge will actually connect the federal route to Kampung Binjai
Oh.
by spanning Sungai Lipis.
Oh.
So it's a pretty significant project, not just for the local community, but potentially for AZRB's earnings as well.
Yeah. Could be a nice boost for their portfolio.
For sure. Now, let's move on to something that might interest those of you with a bit more of a, shall we say, adventurous investment spirit.
Ooh, do tell.
Banking stocks.
Interesting, yeah.
After that dip in share prices recently, some analysts are actually feeling pretty bullish.
Really? Why is that?
Well, they're saying valuations are looking pretty attractive right now.
Plus?
There's potential for what they call an EM play.
An EM play?
Yeah, basically. Emerging markets like Malaysia, they might outperform in the coming months. And then there's the whole AI revolution. Analysts think it could make the banking sector way more efficient and profitable.
So, AI is the wild card here.
Exactly. It's a whole new ballgame.
Yeah.
Now, not all the news is so rosy. Over at Prolintas Managers, things getting a little shaky.
What's going on over there?
Well, two top executives just resigned, including the CEO.
Whoa.
And remember those corruption charges against other Prolintas officials?
Yeah.
This comes right on the heels of that.
Yikes. That doesn't sound good.
Yeah, definitely raises some questions.
For sure.
Especially for anyone invested in Prolintas.
Yeah.
Or even just using their highways.
Makes you wonder what's really going on behind the scenes.
Speaking of things that make you wonder.
Yeah.
LYC Healthcare is having a bit of a disagreement with their auditor.
Oh.
Baker Tilly.
What kind of disagreement?
Well, apparently they couldn't agree on audit fees.
Really?
Yeah. And now LYC is looking for a new auditor.
And how are their finances looking these days?
Not great, to be honest. Plus, they've got these ambitious plans for a NASDAQ listing.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's a lot to juggle, especially with auditor trouble on top of everything else.
Exactly. Now, let's end this segment on a slightly more cheerful note.
Okay. I could use some good news.
F&N,
Oh?
the food and beverage giant. They're celebrating record quarterly sales.
Really?
Yeah. Seems like festive spending in Malaysia really boosted their numbers. Plus, they're seeing growth in Thailand and Indochina, too.
That's impressive.
It is. Although,
Yeah.
those higher taxes did put a little bit of a damper on their profits.
Ah, yes.
Taxes. But overall, it's still a pretty positive sign for F&N, especially as they keep developing that big dairy farm project in Jimas.
Right. That's a big undertaking.
It is. Now, let's talk about a big move in the corporate world. Ahmad Lupan Mod Esmi, the former CEO of Malaysia Aviation Group. He's just joined the board of MMAC.
AMMB, they're a logistics provider.
Okay.
So, AZMI is bringing all that airline industry experience with him, which could be a real game changer for MMG's air freight business.
Meanwhile, over at HCK Capital, there's been a shift in ownership. Director Deong Tak Chong has become a substantial shareholder.
How substantial are we talking?
He's got a 5.27% stake now after converting warrants into shares.
Okay. So, a significant chunk.
Definitely. And remember, HCK Capital is controlled by Executive Chairman Tan Sri Clement. Hai Chi Gok.
Right. So this new stake could shake things up a bit.
It could. Definitely something to watch. Now, in other M&A news, KJTS Group just bought Malakoff's cooling unit.
Cooling unit.
Yeah. It's called Malakoff Utilities. They supply chilled water to a bunch of those big buildings in KL Central.
Oh, I see.
KJTS paid RM 65.5 million for it.
Well, sounds like a pretty strategic move for KGTS, expanding their presence in the building support services sector.
Exactly. And speaking of strategic moves, get this.
What is it?
There's a rumor going around that MMC Port, they're gearing up for a massive IPO.
An IPO.
Yeah, and we're talking massive.
Oh, massive.
Potentially over RM 6 billion.
Wow.
That would make it the biggest IPO in Malaysia in over a decade.
That's huge. If it happens, it's going to make waves.
Oh, yeah. Investors will be watching this one very closely. Okay, let's do a rapid-fire round of some other interesting company updates before we move on.
That's good.
Maxland, the timber company, they're venturing into the district cooling system business.
Interesting.
Yeah, they're leasing land in the Kulin High-Tech Park to do it.
Makes sense. Lots of industries there that need cooling systems.
Then we've got Mulfa International. They're selling off a shopping center and marina in Queensland, Australia, for a cool $85.5 million.
Wow. What are they planning to do with all that cash?
They're calling it capital recycling, basically using the money to fund new ventures.
Ah, strategic divestment.
Exactly. Now, on a less positive note, Salutica. They manufacture electronic products. Well, they lost their patent dispute lawsuit against Apple Malaysia.
Ouch.
Yeah. They were ordered to pay RM 1.2 million. They're appealing the decision. But it just goes to show how tricky these intellectual property disputes can be.
No kidding.
But then, to end on a more positive note, again, KGW Group, the logistics provider. They've got a new strategic partner.
Who is it?
U.S. logistics firm, AGS.
Interesting.
Yeah. AGS bought a 15% stake in KGW, and now they're planning to team up to strengthen KGW's trans-Pacific logistics operations.
Smart move. Combining forces to tap into that growing market.
Exactly. So that's a glimpse of what's happening in the Malaysian business world today. But the news doesn't stop there.
Oh, no. There's more.
Oh, yeah. Let's zoom out and take a look at the global landscape. Things are getting pretty interesting out there.
Oh. In what way?
Well, especially in the world of technology and politics.
Ooh. Those two always make for an interesting mix, don't they?
Yeah, that's what kind of disruptions and uncertainties are we talking about?
You have to stay tuned to find out. Okay, so we're talking about global disruptions and uncertainties.
Right.
And one of the biggest ones right now has to be artificial intelligence.
AI.
Yep. It's changing everything.
It really is. And what's fascinating to me is that the idea of the U.S. being the leader in AI,
Yeah.
well, that's being challenged.
Yeah. It's not such a sure thing anymore.
Not at all.
And a big part of that shift is a Chinese startup called DeepSeek.
DeepSeek, I've heard the name.
They've come out of nowhere
Yeah.
with this low-cost AI platform.
Yeah.
And it's shaking things up.
Like how?
Well, one thing. The NASDAQ took a tumble.
The NASDAQ?
Yeah. And NVIDIA, the big AI chip maker,
Right.
they lost billions in market value. Billions.
Billions. That's a serious impact.
It is.
So what does all this mean for investors?
Good question. Ling from Union Bancaire Privé, he's a wealth management guy.
Wow.
He's saying DeepSeek could disrupt the entire AI supply chain.
The entire supply chain.
That's what he's saying.
That's a big claim.
It is.
So what are the big U.S. tech companies doing about this?
They're not just going to sit back and watch
I wouldn't think so.
Alibaba,
Yeah.
the Chinese e-commerce giant. They've already launched their own AI model.
Oh, yeah.
And they're saying it's better than Meta's and DeepSeek's in some ways.
So it's a real race now.
It's an AI arms race.
Wow.
Investors need to be asking some tough questions.
Like what?
Are these AI companies really worth as much as the market says they are?
Good question.
Did everyone overestimate U.S. dominance?
And what about the global implications?
Yeah.
It's not just about the tech. It's about geopolitics, too.
This could change the whole balance of power.
So AI is definitely something to keep an eye on. But let's not forget about another global force at play.
You mean?
Trump's trade wars.
Oh, yeah. Those are still going strong.
They are, in
Yeah.
fact.
Yeah.
They've escalated.
Really?
The U.S. just slapped tariffs on Canada, Mexico, and China.
Wow.
And they're threatening the EU next.
So much for free trade.
Right.
This is going to cause chaos in the markets.
Oh, it already is.
So who's getting hit the hardest?
Automakers are feeling it.
Makes sense. With all
They-
the cross-border supply chains,
A lot of European and Japanese car makers have plants in Mexico, so they're stuck in the middle.
not a good place to be.
And then there's Chinese e-commerce.
What about them?
Trump's tariffs are specifically targeting them.
How so?
They're getting rid of that exemption for small packages.
That's going to hurt.
Yeah. Companies like JD.com are going to feel the pain,
And probably consumers, too.
probably.
Mm.
So It's mostly bad news on the trade war front,
Yeah.
but could there be any upside for Malaysia?
Possibly.
Yeah.
Some economists think companies might move production to avoid tariffs.
And Malaysia could benefit,
It's a possibility.
so there's a chance we could actually come out ahead.
Maybe. But there are also risks.
Like what?
What if China slows down?
Right. That would definitely affect us.
It's a delicate balance.
So, with all this uncertainty, where can investors find some stability?
Well, gold is usually considered a safe haven.
And are we seeing that?
Gold prices are up.
So people are buying gold.
They are. But there's a catch.
What's that?
The US dollar is surging too.
Which makes gold less appealing.
It's complicated.
Sounds like it.
It's a lot to keep track of.
It is. But we're not done yet.
There's more.
Oh, yeah. What about the EU investigation into Shein,
Shein?
the online fashion retailer?
Oh, right.
They're being investigated for potential consumer law violations.
That's not good for their reputation.
Not at all. And then there's the WHO.
The World Health Organization.
Yeah. They're facing budget cuts.
After the U.S. pulled out,
Right.
that's going to hurt their ability to do their work.
Big time. And finally, Tesla. They're not having the easiest time in Europe.
I thought they were doing well over there.
They are in some places, but in France, their sales just plummeted.
Plummeted.
63% in January.
Wow. That's a big drop.
It is. So, lots going on in the world.
You can say that again.
But for now,
Mm-hmm.
let's shift our focus back to Malaysia,
Sounds good.
because there are some developments happening right here that could have a direct impact on your wallet. Okay, so let's talk EPF. The government is moving ahead with that 2% mandatory contribution for foreign workers.
Right. 2%. It's lower than they originally proposed.
It is. Remember, it's supposed to be 12%.
Yeah. Big difference.
Huge. But even at 2%, it's still causing some debate.
I bet. Employers are probably worried about the extra costs.
Yeah. Especially in industries that rely heavily on foreign labor.
Makes sense.
But the government says it's about fairness, making sure all workers have social protection, regardless of nationality.
Right. And it does align with those international labor standards.
Exactly. Now, on a completely different note, it's actually pretty encouraging to see that voluntary EPF contributions are up.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Over RM13 billion went into those schemes last year.
Wow. That's a good sign.
It is.
Yeah.
Shows people are thinking about their retirement.
Taking control of their future.
Exactly. And speaking of taking control, the government is also cracking down on online crime.
About time.
Right.
It feels like there's a new scam every day.
Seriously. So they're amending Act 588 to give authorities more power to fight online fraud.
What kind of powers?
More power to track down criminals, shut down websites, that kind of thing.
Makes sense. The internet can be a wild west sometimes.
Tell me about it. All right. Let's switch gears to banking.
Okay.
Maybank IB is saying the public bank's upcoming results might not be great.
Why not?
They're predicting some goodwill impairment. At Public Bank's Hong Kong subsidiary,
Goodwill impairment.
basically, it means the value of that subsidiary has gone down.
So it affects public banks' overall performance.
Exactly.
Not ideal.
Not ideal at all. But on a brighter note, Sunway REIT is doing pretty well.
Oh, yeah.
They just announced a record high DPU.
Nice.
Yeah, new acquisitions are helping. And the reopening of that Oasis precinct at Sunway Pyramid Mall.
That's a popular spot.
It is. All right, let's talk about Parliament.
Back in session.
Back in session.
And the PAT-PIC has a lot on their plate.
The Public Accounts Committee. They're diving into some hot-button issues.
Like what?
Well, airport management is one.
Always a topic of discussion.
Right. Ticket prices.
Yeah.
Delays.
Yeah.
And then there's the whole delisting of MAHB from Bursa Malaysia.
Yeah, that was the big one.
The PAC wants to get to the bottom of it all.
Good. We need some answers.
They're actually planning to hold an open hearing to get input from the public.
Oh, wow. That's interesting.
It is. Transparency is key.
Absolutely.
Okay. Last but not least, let's talk about investing.
Always a good topic.
Rakuten Trade is saying that now might be a good time to bargain hunt.
Even with the market down.
Yeah. They're not expecting a big Chinese New Year rally this year, but they're saying there are still opportunities out there,
Interesting.
especially in the tech sector.
Food for thought.
It is. So there you have it, another deep dive into the world of Malaysian finance.
Lots to think about.
Definitely.
From company news to global trends and even what's happening right here in Parliament.
It's a lot to keep track of. But that's what we're here for, to help you navigate it all.
Exactly. So
What stood out to you today? What are you most curious about?
let us know.
We're always listening. And in the meantime, Don't forget to subscribe to the Malaysia Money Matters podcast.
so you don't miss our next deep dive.
We'll be back soon with more insights, more analysis, and more of the financial news that matters most.
Until then, happy investing.
Hey there, thanks for tuning in. If you would like a deeper dive into all the investment opportunities from today's news, subscribe to my newsletter at moneymatters.substack.com. I will be sharing a deeper analysis of the key investment opportunities from today's news, including what makes these opportunities stand out and how they fit into the broader market trends. By subscribing to the Malaysia Money Matters newsletter, you will also get exclusive insights on my watch list and portfolio and fundamental reports on Malaysian listed companies.